short and sweet meeting. Does anyone want to, Mayor Pro Tem, do you want to lead the meeting?
I can if you like, sure. All right, so I call this meeting for the EDC today, November 14th, 2018, open at 4:06. Roll call. Want to take a roll, or do you want me to do it?
Sure, I can do it.
I can call it.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Laura.
Here.
Todd Parton.
Here.
Kyle Warsinski, and I'm here. Bernie Balland is not going to be here tonight. Bertha Barraza. Absent. Terrence Davis. Absent. The chamber member. Betty, you can come sit by me, please.
Be careful, Eddie.
You can sit somewhere else if you don't want to sit next to
He
me.
does
Any-
bite. He's not muzzled
And
today.
he doesn't nibble either.
And Betty, can you say your name for the record?
Betty Rader.
Jennifer Higgins,
Standing in for Jennifer.
and that's Brian Kwan for the record. Rob Moran,
Present.
Kimberly Stars is absent. Kathleen Dietrich.
Here.
And school student is still vacant at this point in time. And then we have another vacancy from a community member, and I'll go over that during my update.
Okay. Let's do the pledge. Oh, hey. Yeah, I know. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, Chairman.
What is this all about here?
Yeah, we got you right. No, there's no party, there's nothing up there.
The king needs to sit on the throne. This is not.
Yeah.
There's more, there's more.
Who's the chair today? You guys started and everything? Well, it's great.
We were just telling jokes, we were waiting for you, so here we go.
We're on adjustments to the agenda.
Adjustments to the agenda.
For the record, Chairman Davis is in attendance.
Okay. Let me see where that is. Just meeting with the Beaumont PD and doing some preparing for the future just now. Let's see. So we haven't gotten to public comment. Okay, pledge allegiance. All right, here we go. So are there any conflict of interest disclosure that's on the agenda that impacts anyone for this meeting? Okay. So we'll move forward and go to item number 1, public comment. Are there any requests for any public comments or any comments that you want to make? No? No, seeing none, only smiling faces, that's great. Moving on to action item 2, approval of minutes for October 10th. Are there any questions or concerns from looking at the minutes from the last meeting? No, not seeing any. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
So Mayor Pro Tem Martinez and Councilman Laura, second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, so that motion passes 9-0. Moving on to item 2B, updates of projects from the city.
Thank you, Chairman. So members of the committee, the update list is fairly extensive for this month because the city's doing a lot of different things at one time now, and we finally got to the point where businesses are opening, and then we've also had a recent press release that has been between last meeting and this meeting. So first of all, for our infrastructure projects, Potrero was well underway, so it looks like a bridge now. I know they've been pouring concrete and all that fun stuff, so I believe that project is on schedule for completion. Our sewer treatment plant upgrade and expansion is currently in the beginning pre-construction stages. So I know that staff's been meeting with all the consultants that the city has hired for that. There was a groundbreaking event held last month, on the very end of last month, for the actual kickoff for that expansion and upgrade. So that's exciting. That will prepare the city of Beaumont for the growth that it will experience in the next 10, 15, 20 years, and be sufficient to handle industry as well as residential growth. So we're excited about that. You may or may not have noticed that the Panera Bread is open, so we can all go eat there for breakfast or lunch or dinner at this point in time. So we already had their grand opening ribbon cutting with the Chamber of Commerce. We also have the Sonic drive-through grand opening ribbon cutting scheduled for Friday at 11 in the morning. So if you're able, Ashley has promised it will not be windy, so hopefully that will work.
Sorry.
So that'll be on Friday at 11. Pyology is currently training employees, so they should be open. They're targeting this weekend, and we're coordinating their grand opening ribbon cutting with the ownership and the Chamber of Commerce on that one. The new Chevron on Beaumont Avenue is open, so we can fill up with Chevron gas at that location. We're working with the owner on the remaining retail or service suites within that shopping center. Berkshire Hathaway had their grand opening of one of their new offices within the city yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yes.
Yesterday. So the chamber went ahead and did that. That one was fun because they had live entertainment and tacos. So if you weren't able to attend, I feel sorry because the tacos were good. They didn't make me sing, so that was a bonus. Other projects, probably the most significant one is one that staff has been working on with one of our landowners for the past 2 years, I think it is. It seems like 2 years. And that's that Amazon is going to be locating one of their distribution centers in the city of Beaumont. And if you see that huge crane near State Route 60 by Wolverine, that's the crane that's currently lifting their panels in place. And I know it's one of many different Amazon facilities within the region. We're excited about it, one, because it provides a large amount of primary jobs, and that's one of our objectives here within the city, is to create primary jobs, which then create indirect jobs within the service or the retail sector. So we're happy about that. The other thing interesting enough about that facility, which is somewhat of a bragging thing compared to the other facilities, is this one is one of their new prototypes, and it will be 75 feet tall, which is different than the normal 50 feet that you'll see a warehouse in. So this is 75, and it will have 4 stories on the inside of the building. I believe the 3 top stories are fully automated with robots, and the bottom stories where all the people are on the outside of the building. So the robots will be picking packages, bringing them down. So the 750 to 1,000 employees will be working on the bottom floor. So we're excited about that. It's one of Amazon's new concepts. Their idea is it's more efficient to go higher than it is to go out. So they've decided to build one of their prototypes here in Beaumont. They're building another one somewhere in the Midwest, I think it is. So that's one of my bragging things, is not only we're getting an Amazon, but one of their newer prototype buildings.
The top 2 stories are automated?
I think the top 3 are.
Top 3.
Before you put that in the newspaper with my name next to it,
I'm not gonna put it in the newspaper.
I would confirm that for you. But yeah, I think it's the 3, so it'll be 4 stories, 3 with automated, and then the bottom, from what I understand, is going to be where all the personnel is. So I'm excited to get that thing up and running so we can all visit it and see how exactly it works. So that'll be exciting. And That's all the ones I can think of. Did I miss one?
CJ Foods.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
No, you
No, you do it.
No, you do it.
No, you.
You're on a roll.
Should we Rochambeau? We don't have time for that. All right, so CJ Foods is a local, no, not local, a global company. If you were to Google their name, their parent company is CJ Group. It's on Wikipedia. They have 20 or some odd subsidiaries. One of them is CJ America, which has CJ Foods. They manufacture, distribute, and sell frozen and packaged Korean food. So what that means to us is they have purchased a building within the city of Beaumont after a very extensive site selection throughout all of Southern California and actually the Western United States. So they found their building here, and they're currently doing tenant improvements on the inside of that building to add 6 different production lines that range from sauce production, rice bowls, noodle bowls, and then dumplings. You and I walk by their products at Stater Brothers. If you go down to the international food aisle, I see them there now because I know what they look like. And then they have their dumplings, which are their best-selling product in Costco. So as soon as they told me they were in Costco, I realized that's no joke, because to get space within a Costco means your product has to be 1, good, and 2, move off the shelf. Because if Costco has a product that you think is good that doesn't sell, they replace it with another product of your competitor that does actually sell. So the fact that they're in Costco is important to us. They have invested, I think, over $100 million in this facility, not counting the 2 companies they purchased. So they bought out 2 other food companies that they'll be manufacturing their food here. And they also purchased a nationwide logistics company to move their goods, as well as other companies' goods. So that acquisition was, I think, $250 million for that logistics company. So they now own another branch, which is now CJ Logistics. So we've been meeting with them as staff, helping them through the process. Their CEO met with our mayor last week and was excited to talk to our mayor about what's going on in the facility, what they need from us, and where they're going to be. The most fun fact when I talk about them is they purchased the building and they thought it was too big. So it was one of the largest buildings they've ever purchased, so they bought it. And now, after they've done these other acquisitions, the building's too small. So they've already filled the entire thing with production lines and freezers, and now they wish it was twice the size. So we're working with them, hopefully, to find another facility within the area. So that's a good update. Sorry, I forgot about
It's
that.
what, up to 500 jobs, right? So initially, there'll be right around 200 jobs, and then it'll grow to 500 once they add their shifts. And then the last one I would say would be the 8th Street MOB, Medical Office Building.
Yeah, so the Sundance Corporate Center, we've touched on that one. I always seem to forget that one. But if you're over in Sundance, you can't miss it because it's going vertical. Jan, the developer, is currently working on the leases for the other 2 buildings. And one of them, if we're lucky, is going to be a state-of-the-art surgery center to take some of the burden off of the hospital for certain surgeries. So it won't be emergency, but it should be like your outpatient type of surgeries within that surgery center. So that is another one of those industries that we're focusing on for primary job creation, is manufacturing, which are good paying jobs, better than normal logistics. We'll have a lot of them within Amazon, and their minimum wage is now $15 an hour, so that's not too bad. And then hopefully some high paying jobs within the medical industry within the corporate center.
Kyle, on the Amazon facility, do you know what type of products they're going to be distributing there? Some of their facilities have bigger products, some have smaller, some.
I don't know. It's probably something I should ask next time I get in contact with them to know. Yeah, because they don't put every single product in every building, right? They have different mix. So, yeah, we'll definitely ask that and bring back an update.
We can try this. Name one, we'll tell you.
Books.
Yes.
Used to do that.
She can tell you which one she'd like to have there.
Yep.
You can get your Rolls Royce.
Door delivery, right?
Get your Rolls Royce there. Your,
Same day.
I think they're gonna ship Teslas too, right, Kyle?
Yeah, just go down the street.
So
and pick 'em up.
we're hoping that Amazon is done by summer, so probably late summer. Early fall is when they may be done with the building and in operation. And then CJ Foods is rolling out a phased approach, so they want to be in operation with the first production lines in 2019. I don't know if they're going to be able to hit like January, February. It may be March or April. And then their other production lines will be in construction when the first two are in operation.
And then the chevron ribbon cutting is at 12 o'clock on Friday.
Yes.
What's the targeted completion date for the Potrero interchange?
The first phase, I think we're looking at, I want to say March or April of 19. Hopefully I'm right.
Shot in the dark.
Sounds like I mean, I'm just guessing. But I think that's when we let the contract, was around that time in 2018, and I think it was about a year projection for the construction on that, so.
And Kyle, what it looks like is a road to like, where is it going, but does it connect to First Street?
It will be connecting to 4th Street,
Fourth Street.
which is where the Amazon and the Wolverine are currently based off of. That will connect over and then up to the bridge. So that's all the projects updates I have. The only other update, which I alluded to in the roll call, is that we have a vacancy from a community member, and that is due to Mike McGraw resigning from the committee. So he's had some scheduling conflicts with the additional activities he's performing at the high school related to sports. So he's well versed into that, and he's kind of grown into a couple roles there, which conflict with this meeting. So he wanted to let everyone know that unfortunately he had to resign. I told him when he's done coaching, we will probably be here so he can come back at that point in time. Another item is that it is November. We are going to be posting the applications for the openings on this committee, not just the vacancies, but I think almost everyone in the committee is up for reappointment if you wish to continue to serve. So we really would hope that the existing members that have been appointed by council reapply to continue your presence and work on the Economic Development Committee. The 2 council members, you don't have to reapply. And Todd, you don't have to reapply either.
I will.
You won't. You can't. So we'll be getting those applications out. I'll send them out to all of you personally. And if we'll get those back to us in December. And then council typically does their appointments for committees in beginning of January. So that way we'll know what's going on with that. So keep an eye out for that one. That's all I got. You have anything only 2 misses, sorry.
Okay, so those are all of the updates from the city. That's quite a bit. That's a lot going on. It's good. It's busy, really busy. Okay, 2C, Economic Development Strategic Plan update.
So if you're tired of seeing emails from me, it's because we have an economic development strategic plan going on, and we've been scheduling our series of summit meetings with our consultants. And the first one of those is tomorrow morning at 7:30 here at City Hall. I'll actually be in the room right behind Chairman Davis. So we have ordered Panera Bread for breakfast, so you got to keep it local, right? So it's perfect timing that they opened, so now we can have them cater our economic development summit. So we've invited a slew of different stakeholders throughout the city. That includes the school district, the community colleges, not just San Jacinto. I invited the other ones from the region, the major universities, So I've invited Cal State San Bernardino through their small business development centers. So he will be here, UC Riverside will be here, the hospital districts, Loma Linda University Health, Epic, Beaver, the County of Riverside. So Rob will be here representing the County of Riverside and the EDC. And then our local business community. So you'll have, hopefully, CJ Foods come. It's a gentleman from Rudolph Foods, which are the ones that are doing the pork rind manufacturing right now that we talked about at the beginning of the EDC. Wolverine and Icon, hopefully will be able to attend. Obviously, Priority Pallets will be here as one of our larger employers. And then I've invited some of the other new businesses that have come into town. It's hit or miss because they have to run their business too, so. But we're excited. Currently, I have probably 45 of the stakeholders RSVP'd, so we should be good. Do you have a question? No. Okay, I thought you were waving me down. No.
So Kyle, what's your expectation from committee members in attendance? What would you like from us?
So committee members are an interesting stakeholder, right? So one, you sit on the committee, so you kind of have to listen to me and figure out what the city's doing and what the committee's up to. At the same time, you represent on the committee your organization. So from that perspective, I'd like you to chime in from your organization. Okay. So like if Terrence is attending, by all means, take your committee hat off and put on your school hat, because that's one of the reasons that we invited you to the committee as well as the summit, because we want the committee members to engage with the other stakeholders. And it may be easier for you all kind of to lead the way, because you've already had the briefing on the strategic plan, and kind of help the other ones that may have not gone through this or are not apprised of what's going on through the process. So he's going to do a really good job explaining what's going on. Then we're going to break out into groups tomorrow and to do some analysis within 3 breakout groups. That's going to be facilitated by the consultant. And then we're going to come back and do a briefing on what each of the groups came up with. So that'll be the first kickoff that kind of gives us an idea of where the community, the region, thinks that Beaumont's at, what we're good at and what we're not so good at, what we want to aspire to be. And then the follow-up summit meetings are going to be building on that framework or the foundation that's established tomorrow morning. That's why it was so important for me to get as many key stakeholders at the top positions as possible, because we need their input. It can't just be Todd and I and a couple city employees trying to figure out how we think we fit within the region, or it can't just be city council thinking about how we do that. So we needed that community buy-in, and that's what we've offered and invited for tomorrow morning. So if you can make it, that will be great. I promised coffee and Panera, so
Goes from 7:30 to
around 10:30. Mini scones.
I can be here, but I have to leave about 9 because I would be in Palm Springs by 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be here at 8. I have to drop kids off at school. It's the law.
You can bring your kids with you.
You do not want that.
We'll keep them preoccupied.
Yeah, I'll give them coffee and mini scones.
Mr. Davis's staff keeps my children under better control than I can, so.
I don't have any staff.
So that's the only update I have on the strategic plan. We'll get further in depth with what happens at the summit meetings, at the next EDC meeting, because we're going to be doing updates on what exactly is going on. But I don't want to impose some of the stuff that we have looked at in terms of staff, in terms of data, until we have that foundation laid tomorrow morning. So that's all I have on that item.
Comments, questions? Okay, 2D, Economic Development Committee goals. And I know we had a conversation about this last time, but do we need to explore anything different? As I recall the conversation, it was about utilizing, again, this new strategic plan from the city to develop not per se our goals, but our tasks, if you will, that are underneath the goals. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and I think if you were to look at these as a quick refresher before tomorrow's meeting. That might be interesting to kind of look at where the committee thinks we were at in terms of the vision statement and what our goals are here as the committee. And as we go through the strategic plan, how those either mesh with what the strategic plan is laying out or potentially conflicts with that and then may need amendment, right? So I think when we started, we came up with a couple of these things, and I think that the city and the committee have been working hard on trying to accomplish some of these goals in terms of short-term work for long-term goals, right? It's not gonna happen overnight. But we're definitely trying, and we appreciate all the committee members' support.
Any other comments or questions on the goals?
I think if you look at these goals and you kind of listen to the project update, I think we're hitting right on with these goals and objectives. There's some that still some work to do on leveraging, again, maximizing those business opportunities. And then continuing efforts to create a more business growth environment. I mean, we're working hard, but there's special attention we're giving to those. So we still have work to do, but I think we're hitting these 4 major points.
Okay. Okay, let's move now, moving into I. I mean, that's, I don't know if that's one all in the same in terms of short and long term, because the committee goals are underneath that. So do we need to even discuss that or go to?
Not unless committee members wanted to discuss them. I mean, they're kind of just on there because we were talking about tasks before. So it's not, I don't have any update on any of those.
You're not kicking me because you want to talk about it, right?
I'm just kicking.
Okay. Or you're not kicking me at all. So let's look at, I don't know how you say that, I, or that's, what is that, double I? How do you say that? Is there?
Snake eyes.
Snake eyes? I'm not sure what that is. I.
Think Ozzy Osbourne, right?
So discussion of committee member tasks, and we had some discussion about this last time, about some ideas and thoughts that people had about doing with the chamber, introducing new business programs, summer internships, and I think the summer internships, I know Ms. Barraza was talking about that with Mount San Jacinto, but is there anything else that we need to explore or action or suggestion regarding those 3 things?
So on the attraction and retention, we've partnered with the chamber for at least one of these meet and greet events for business startups and entrepreneurs. So we had one of those events. We plan on having a couple more of those throughout the year. And we're also partnering with Riverside County, the Beaumont Chamber, as well as the Bank of Hemet for our Funding Your Business event, which is on November 29th in the evening here at City Hall. So if you know a small business or startup that is doing okay, but they want to do better and they're not exactly sure how to get money, which seems to be typical for a lot of businesses that have survived and now want to take it to that next step, they don't know how. And if they just show up at a bank and talk to a banker and don't know the right things to say, they're going to get the normal loan, right? So we're partnering with the county. The county's going to essentially run the program. Rob can definitely go into more detail on it than myself. But if you can help us in getting the word out, I can send the flyer to all of you after the meeting. And then if you want to blast that out to everyone that you know, we're trying to get as many people here to help grow their business or start it up as possible. And Rob, go ahead and jump
Thanks,
in.
Kyle. No, I appreciate you mentioning that. I was going to mention that later too. But, you know, the County of Riverside Economic Development Agency actually offers loans through our department. So we're in the banking business. But there's myriad other funding programs that are out there, whether it's the traditional conventional loans through a bank, there's SBA loans, there's microloans for people that actually need only a few $100s, all the way up to millions and millions. So there's a wide spectrum, and as Kyle alluded to that, a lot of times folks don't know what they need to do to prepare themselves to get a loan, whether it's from the county, which our loans are underwritten to bank, not quite to bank standards, but similar. But when they're approaching banks and financial institutions of any type, what are they supposed to do? Not only the way they prepare their package, but what should they do to prepare for that personally, how they handle their credit, what things should they pay off, what should they not worry about, those sorts of things. And we have a consultant that works with us through the Inland Empire, actually it's through the Small Business Development Center Network, and he's a former banker, and so he comes in and gives them the lowdown on what they need to do, what some of the different programs are. One of the things that we like to do is to have a local representative from the community, and in this case, Kyle, and I think the chamber found somebody or work with the Bank of Hemet to give the local bank or a local institution the opportunity to share some of the things they're doing, and it's completely up to the local jurisdiction to figure out who that is, and I'm sure there's always more than one, but some stand out as great partners, so we always ask the local community to bring somebody on that is really active in the community and is a local resource. And it's really just trying to help build capacity and expose businesses to, whether they're startups or existing businesses that just might need working capital or capital for real estate or whatever the case may be. It's just to help build capacity and share what programs are out there, especially with the onslaught of all these new businesses that are growing. They don't always know what to do, and access to capital is really critical. So, sorry for my long-winded explanation, but we're always pleased to find a partner. Kyle and the city have always been willing to step up and partner with us, and we finally got on the calendar, and so we look forward to being here in a couple weeks for that. And thanks to the chamber as well.
So that is in motion. That's great. New business program? Anything on that?
The new business program is something we've talked to the chamber about, but we're not ready to kick that thing off yet. We're currently focusing on this swath of new businesses that are opening. So we're getting all of our work done, and I'm sure Betty's, I don't know if she would say tired of grand openings, but
This week's been a little busy.
yeah, so we've put an onslaught on the chamber on those. So once we get those, we'll probably try to start rolling out the Spotlight program, in which we spotlight businesses each month so that the community kind of knows what they're all about. But right now, with the amount of new ones coming in and the work that's going on, their plate's a little bit full. So we'll probably bring that to a future meeting. And then the internship program, we're still working on with HR, the city attorney's office, as well as San Jacinto. And I missed summer, so probably should remove the word summer from the internship program, unless we want to wait all the way to next summer.
Sooner the better.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments on any of those items, issues? Okay, so E, topic for future agendas. And I believe we talked about this was just some things that we had discussed before, and if there's something that we want to pull forward to the next meeting, we'll take it off of there and or add it to the existing agenda, right? So I don't, And so Kyle, when you talked about the summit, because is that 3 separate meetings?
Yes.
And I believe we will have a meeting after this next one, after tomorrow. Just looking at in terms of the role of this committee after those summits happen, and the debrief and then action per se, or plan.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where these future agenda items are going to fall in place, is to start working on some of those before the strategic plan is complete, is probably kind of getting the cart ahead of the horse. So they were good items to kind of discuss in terms of potential or what we were thinking about, but now that the city council's started on the path of doing a real data-driven strategic plan, we'll know if we can attract an auto mall or an auto dealer. So if we can, then we'll continue that on there. But if they say there's no way for it to happen because of these other variables, then we know it may not happen. We should probably focus on something else.
Anything else to add, or anything anyone want to suggest for our next meeting? Is that
Question, just, so are the
our economic development strategic plan and this committee, are we gonna be getting direction? Or how are those two gonna interact? How do you see that? So that we're not, one, we're not duplicating processes, and two, we're either supporting or feeding or building off of what is done.
So the way I envision it to happen is the summit meetings are that series of 3 meetings getting the stakeholder buy-in. And between those stakeholder meetings, if possible, we'll be updating the Economic Development Committee on what those were, especially if people can't attend those, right? Or it'd also update the 2 council members that are on the committee that aren't going to the summit meetings. So you'll get an update on kind of what happened at those. And that may be from an update from me, may be an update from Todd, or it may be an update from Roger, the consultant from the firm, at the EDC meetings. When we get further along the process, it may be something where the EDC is looking at a draft or some of the concepts that come up from the strategic plan prior to it going to city council. Now, it's not an official body that's going to make any decision, but if it sees something that is a concern or needs a change, we can head that off before it got to a official council meeting. So that's the way I envision the process to go. I don't think there should be duplication of work.
Okay.
What do you think, sir?
Yeah, because I think the EDSP will kind of set the stage, the roadmap, and then this committee will then begin to get that implementation taken care of.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. F, committee member reports. So last time we talked, well, not we, I talked about who likes pressure, and we know Ms. Starr does. Is anybody today like that, like pressure? Oh, Todd, okay. Well, you're one of those roles.
See that, I'd like to report that the Broncos need a quarterback.
That's a long-term, that's a long-term
Yeah, so-
strategic plan.
That is, we're waiting for the EDSP to come at the end of this game 16, I guess, right?
Game 16.
Week 17. So outside of that, I think Kyle kind of hit kind of the highlights of anything that I'd report to you. So we've been talking with some various experts in the field of economics to try to help us begin to dial in our long-term fiscal forecast modeling for the city. So we're trying to really kind of gauge for the dynamics that affect our local economy here and kind of the timeline. And we have a very strange economic climate happening right now where we see some stalling out in the single-family home sectors, but all the other economic indicators that are out there, leading indicators, are all showing we still have a strong and kind of working economy. So we're trying to get a feel for that. But we've talked to some folks at Claremont McKenna College. We've been talking to folks at UC Riverside to kind of look at, kind of what's going on in the tech world, and even had contemplated, some of the strategic thinking for our community and trying to work in those directions. So we've also now got about 20 years worth of property tax data that was generated for the city. So we're compiling a bunch of data. So you'll probably be very happy to be getting some very technical information on some of that stuff as we kind of begin to develop some of those things. We're just trying to identify cycles and how deep those cycles could potentially go, and then what does that mean for us? And then from there, when we look at the Economic Development Strategic Plan, how do those strategies then begin to fill those various voids that we're going to see over time? So that's what one other kind of tier thing that we're looking at that will come back to this committee in some form or fashion.
Why don't we go
Thanks.
clockwise, so we can put the pressure on Mayor Pro Tem Martinez.
At the end, he can wrap
Yes.
it
I'm
up.
not sure my medicine just kicked in,
Well, just sort of touching on what Todd had referenced, we've spoken with some of the developers, because we're also seeing in the county of Riverside a downturn in home building. But speaking with the one of the big developers that we've been dealing with, they plan to finish out this fiscal or calendar year with 1,000 homes. and we'll build more than that next year, is what they're telling us. Of course, it's all projection. The other thing that we are under construction, working with a company who's building a large 3-story medical building, and we are gonna have 3 more medical buildings submitted. These 3 that are coming in that are new will be shell buildings, looking for tenants. So it seems like the medical, maybe outpatient surgery may be a thing of the future where hospitals are not picking that up, but they're getting moved off to medical. So maybe that's something that our strategic plan could include. I'm not sure, but that's kind of what I'm seeing as far as a building official for the county.
So just a question.
Sure.
For those home building and the permits in the county of Riverside, what I've been told is like Menifee and Beaumont being those areas where it has the significant growth more than others. Is that accurate, or?
The Menifee's incorporated, but we are seeing significant growth in what we refer to as South County, or that area, Temecula area. So we are still seeing development out there. We're seeing development also in we'll call it the High Grove area. Spring Mountain Ranch is the development out there. So we're still seeing on both the north ends and south ends. The east end of the county is beginning to see a little bit of tract development, but very small. We've been told that for a couple of years that it's getting ready to break. So we'll see what that brings.
That's right.
That's all.
No pressure on me today, I might cry.
It was good. You held it. It was good.
Well, I mean, this is my first meeting, so I'm a little, not quite sure what's going on necessarily, but the chamber is now, very excited about exploring its relationship with the city again. The chamber was surviving for about 2 years and just trying to hang on, and now we're doing well. And it's exciting to be involved with the city, so we're enjoying that.
Gonna come back next time, or are we
I
scaring you
will.
away?
I will. December 12th, I'll be back.
You've heard enough from me tonight, so I'm done.
Really don't have much. I need to understand more about how the city runs the CFDs, because one of the things as a broker, what scares people off of Beaumont are those CFDs. And so I don't know what benefits more the city to have them CFDs or have them prepaid and just raise the price of houses. Because I mean, as Beaumont grows and as this area grows, I mean, that, the rumor is and the feeling is that Beaumont's going to be the next Rancho Cucamonga. I mean, there's a lot of people look at Beaumont as being the place to go to in Riverside County. So housing prices will go up, but nobody likes the high CFDs. Nobody likes that. I mean, that scares everybody off. Like, we have Banning coming across the street here. That's Pardee. That's owned by Pardee, that land over there. I have no idea. Are they going to be putting those CFDs on there also?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
'Cause I was going to say, that's going to scare the heck out of everybody. Just everyone's going to go to Banning.
Calamasa is too.
Okay. I don't know if there's a way that benefits the city to put that and have the builders prepay that and put that and just build it in the price of housing. I don't know if that works or not, but I'll tell you that the high taxes, we lose people to Kaipa, we lose people to Calamasa, we lose people to, a lot of places because they just look at those high tax rates and say, 2%, 2.1%, that's just too high.
Do they question, when they look at that tax rate though, do they look at the total that they're paying plus the price of the house and then look at that total picture?
No,
Because-
they just
yeah,
look at it, because it's all part of payment. Most people are payment.
Right,
driven.
because
So-
that's, when I talk to constituents, that's, I kind of say, well, you're gonna get a 300,000 house here and maybe a 30,000 tax, so you're looking at 330, but you can't go to Redlands and get that house for 330 because it's 530 over there. So a lot of them just hear the tax and they scare away with that, so I'm trying to build in that, but look at the total picture about that with that, and then look at what you're getting for that price versus everybody else.
And there's a lot of people who are, including myself, unknowledgeable about, okay, these CFDs, are they 25-year, are they 30-year, are they 50-year? And then what happens when they expire? Because there's things that they can just be renewed, goes under, nobody knows they get renewed, and boom, they keep on going. And so people don't know about those things. So these are things that really scare away a consumer. And like I said,
We've done several community town halls. We did 4 big ones. We talked to over 1,000 people when we did those here about a year and a half ago. So we've got a ton of data that we can kind of push back out, and we can kind of review that with this body if you'd like to at our next meeting. Kind of walk through all that. Because, one thing people understand, that 2% is a combined of all the special taxing
Sure.
that is contemplated from the hospital, school district, everybody on down, the college, everybody. So, your CFDs, that's a portion of that. So we'd love to get that opportunity and kind of walk back through that with you guys if you want to do that.
because it's my understanding the CFDs don't even include Beaumont Unified, though. That's something, when they're short on, they've got to do something else to bring the money in, because the CFDs don't even cover Beaumont Unified.
Well, and that's
I'm
evolving
sure about that
situation
when we
too.
So yeah, that's all I got.
Question.
That's a sensitive topic.
So do you find that maybe there are other brokers in that situation or other realtors you've talked about that might need a little explanation or clarification in this field? I mean, in other words, is it?
Everybody just knows Beaumont's got high taxes.
Because
that's just it. That's what it
That's
is.
a good point of having some sort of a workshop specifically for their group. Because their group's so important. If they're going to try to, expand our community, they really need to be.
They're hitting new people, where the ones we're currently doing right now are hitting existing.
Okay.
They're not going to Brian and asking questions, they're coming to our meetings.
Right.
They own the house. He's getting a question from someone from Riverside that wants to move here, that simply looks at the tax rate and doesn't have the
But I
answer.
mean, if we do a workshop.
With the realtor,
Tailored. to
Right.
Yeah.
realtors.
then they have some more ammo in their pocket, which they can answer questions when that topic comes
I
up.
think one thing that'll be helpful is to look at the RMAs for other cities out here, because when you look at some of our CFD rates, they're not that high compared to what some other places are collecting. Some are. I mean, some of our areas have higher, some have lower, so I think that would kind of help. I don't think we've ever pulled that information together. So we can
Yeah,
look.
just about any new build,
Yeah, how do
they
we
have them,
compare?
and people recognize that. The RSI community that had the 53 homes, that, because I was at school, I actually put 9 families in those 53 homes. 9 of those homes, I put families in there because of the low
Because they didn't have it.
They didn't have it. They only had $373 a year.
Yeah, they have the services CFD, yeah.
That's it.
Would it
Versus
help-
other homes in there, 4,000.
Would it help to provide the real estate industry in the area with like a white paper that explains the taxes and that you could, simplify it?
Well, that's what I
for
was
the-
thinking, if we had like a little workshop going on and then provide that with the,
Yeah, I mean,
talking points and
Right,
stuff.
when we had the meet and greet at the St. Martin's, you had a sheet that explained it, and that was helpful. And maybe something like that would be to help clarify.
Yeah, and where they're going. But I just think, I don't know if the way that the CFDs work, because I understand when the builders come in, they have a choice. They can prepay these things and just build it in the price of the house, or they can put these CFDs on there that go on. I don't know which is more beneficial to the city. If it's more beneficial to put the CFDs on there than to have them prepaid. I don't know which is, but as this area grows and as Beaumont becomes very much more in demand, prices go up. And if we can just, kind of hide some of that in the price of a house rather than the taxes, I think that goes over a little softer.
It's that word does it, the taxes.
The taxes do it, yeah.
Kills it, I know.
I think it would be beneficial to get you guys some ammo, and then I really like Todd's comparison in terms of other areas. So if you say, well, look, you're looking at Beaumont, what are the areas that you're looking at? And you can pull out a quick cheat sheet.
Right.
Be like, oh, you're looking at Temecula? Theirs is this. It's the same thing, but their house costs more.
Yeah.
And then I always love we always talk about the 2%, right? Because that's like the barometer, that's what you want to hit. Well, when house prices are great, it's less than 2%. But then when it flips the opposite way,
Then it's 3%.
and it's like 3.5%, then they're really mad. But it all has to do with how much the house is worth at that point in time.
Right.
And I think that's part of the training, is that if we tell the real estate or the community instead of looking at it as a percentage, you look at it as a dollar amount and what that dollar amount was attributable to in terms of what it built or what it covers, then it's easier to sell it versus a percentage. Oh yeah, you have to pay 2%, but if you tell them it's $30,000 for this, this, and this, or a portion of these different things, then you can at least say, oh, look, it helped pay for this road, or this interchange, or this sports park, for example. So then they kind of get it. It's always been my understanding that if the more they learn about what it's for, the easier it is for them to swallow versus just saying tax, and then everyone thinks it's going to the city, and we actually get something out of it, when in fact we really don't.
And also understanding that some of those people would like to be able to prepay those, and there was a while where they're not able to prepay them. I understand
We can
they
now.
are now.
Yep.
Okay, so, and the benefits of prepaying those, I mean, there are a lot of people that,
So I'll put that on topics for future agendas, and then
One thing, just to note real quick, council's policy regarding CFD formations changed too. So a lot of the areas you're talking about are areas that were done before, this council was seated, these members here. So there's been a shift, and we can describe that also, where we're saying now there's a rational nexus. If we're gonna provide a reimbursement, it's going to specific things. So it has to be a nexus between any reimbursement and what was done. In the past, it was this project with the balance of what's available with the projected development can have a certain capacity, bonding capacity, and then those projects are basically being bonded out to the max. That's not what the council's been doing. So as they've been bonding things out, they've been, pulling those numbers down and only sizing those to what we really need to do, or we can identify as.
Yeah, because I know some of them are down to 1.8% from the new builds, which is good.
And part of the challenge is that as we've worked to bring down the CFD payment, the value of the home has gone up, and so it's a net zero gain in your property tax. So even though we may have dropped the CFD $100 a month, you lose it in the
price of
the property tax. So, but education, I think, is the key, because there's a lot of old wives' tales about CFDs that have changed and that we've worked on. So.
Thinking about overcoming obstacles, which is kind of what I do, to put a positive spin on it and get ahead of it. So maybe there's an opportunity for some sort of joint marketing campaign between your professional association for maybe realtors in this area and maybe the city, to kind of get ahead of it. I'm thinking, it doesn't bother me what the tax rate is here in Beaumont, because the return on it is so fantastic. Living in this town is worth whatever price we have to pay. I think more people that we can kind of get that message to, that regardless of what, show all the benefits of living in this fantastic community, and then, the tax rate is like, it's a cost of living in a fantastic place. Because I'm telling you, people where I'm from, in Palm Springs, Indian Wells, La Quinta, it doesn't matter. You want to live in that town because it's a great place to live. So, just my thoughts on that.
Poised to be a good place to live, it really is.
Am I up?
you were up.
Okay, so very, very busy. Our busiest time of year. After lumber being at all-time highs, it totally hit the skids about a month and a half ago. And what we're hearing from the mills is that it's lack of demand and too much supply, which may all be attributable to this housing slowdown that's going on. I mean, when the lumber prices went up, it was all over, our publications, a home went up $10,000, $15,000 just because of lumber prices. And so maybe some of the bigger home builders, I'm sure, backed off a little bit and waited for these prices to correct themselves. Well, they really have come down, which is good for us because, we use a lot of lumber and the prices are low, and that makes us real happy. Life is good.
So we, at United Way, I think I talked about this a little bit at our last meeting. We are the organization that's going to be rolling out the CalSavers program for Riverside and San Bernardino counties, which is a state-mandated retirement program for corporations. So if you have 5 or more employees, starting in January 2020 is when the mandate rolls out, you'll have to offer some sort of retirement savings plan. So that doesn't mean people actually have to save, it just means you have to offer them access. If you already have a 401k plan or a 503b or whatever savings plan you currently have in place, you don't have to do CalSavers, but this is really for the benefit of small businesses and maybe public interest sector or chambers, for people who traditionally don't have access to wealth building plans. What we found and what research shows is that most people when they retire are entirely dependent on Social Security and have $0 saved towards their retirement. And that causes a major financial crisis for not only that family, but for our community. So people who were previously spending at a certain level, all of a sudden when they retire, they have $800 a month to spend. So it's not good for them, it's not good for our region. So having some sort of retirement savings when they retire is going to be great for our region, great for families, and to help pull people out of poverty. So we'll be hosting a series of lunch and learn events. I'll definitely bring that information to you, but really excited about the potential for bringing wealth into our community and bringing wealth to our seniors, and specifically wealth to people who are just starting in the workplace now, because we all know the magic of compounding interest is really what builds wealth. And when you're 25 years old and starting out in your first job, you generally don't think about investing for the future. But CalSavers gives people the opportunity to automatically make contributions via payroll deductions, and it's into IRAs, and it's liquid, it's a Roth IRA, so if people need to use that money for an emergency account, they're able to do that as well. So it's really teaching people the value of savings. But for a 25-year-old, if they start saving at the initial rate, and this is low-income projections, kind of people working in low-income industries, at the time of their retirement, they'll have $185,000 saved. And you and I know that's not enough to do a huge amount of good in your life, but if you were solely dependent on $800 a month for Social Security, that is a massive, massive, massive security net. So we're really excited about that program. We're funded by Cal Wellness Foundation and then in partnership with United Ways of California. So it's a massive program rolling out across the state. Happy to talk to any of you about it if you have questions about it. But we'll be leaning on our communities to help us make this successful and to get this word out to as many people as possible. And one more thing, tomorrow is National Philanthropy Day, in case you didn't know. It's our celebration of philanthropy across the country and philanthropic efforts, donors, foundations, and nonprofit employees. So say Happy Philanthropy Day to the charity worker in your life tomorrow. That's it.
All right. Always learned so much. It's great. So congratulations, Councilman Laura, on your reelection.
Thanks, sir.
All right. So good. So just a few updates with sports. Our students have done really well traditionally, but this year in particular. So last night in San Luis Obispo, our volleyball team played for CIF, which is California International Federation, the Southern Section Championship game.
Ooh.
So this is all of Southern California Division IV. They lost that game, but they had a great season. If they would have won that game, they would have played for the state championship.
Wow.
California State. So it just gives me goosebumps about their season and how they did. This Friday, Beaumont High School football, they're playing in their third round of CIF this year, and it's a home game.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting. They played last week. They played this Friday. They played a team from Anaheim. I don't know if this is a semifinal. I think it's maybe a semifinal in CIF. So we're really proud of our kids, our student athletes, if you will. And we just can't say enough about them.
Water polo?
Water polo, golf. Water polo went to CIF, cross country. So our students are doing remarkably well. Facilities. So last night we had a study session with our Board of Trustees about developing options for the secondary level. The high school has about 2,800 students right now. And so to make a very long story short, the board provided direction to the staff to move forward looking at a reconfiguration, if you will. We have TK, which is transitional kinder to 5, to expand that to TK to 6. So that's one thing that we're going to look at. We're going to bring some data back to the board about that and making that happen in the future, looking at 2021 or 21-22. So it's a little ways out. The other thing is possibly doing a 9th grade campus on one of our middle schools now, and or having San Gorgonio go back to a high school. So we're going to look at one of those two options. What that would do, in essence, if we had a 9th grade campus, Beaumont High School could be a 10, 11, 12. That'll bring down the numbers to about 800, 900 numbers or so. But if you go the other route, you still have 2 high school campuses. So we have to look at all of those options and kind of bring those back to move forward, because our issue is costs for facilities. A brand new high school would cost $200 million. And so when you start talking about CFDs, it is a very sensitive issue that we spend a lot of time on. And to our knowledge and our research, the board approved a CFD for Olivewood in the tune of about $20 million. That's what we will receive. And to our knowledge, that's our first CFD that is led by the district that will come to fund facilities, to our knowledge. So same kind of issue with, I think, the issue of not knowing and knowledge and information, I think is key across the board, especially for citizens of Beaumont.
Right.
Looking at that tax base. I think that's huge. So that's why that conversation went on, but definitely need to have that education, if you will. And the last thing is we've been meeting with Beaumont PD for several months, preparing for active shooter training for all of our staff. And so just left a meeting just before I came here about looking at a phase-in plan, training staff, doing it all district, and coming up and following up, having other people come in, train parents, all of those different things. So this has to be a long-term plan, and has to be something that's put in front of us, not just, oh, we've done this and we've moved on. So with the goal being that kids go home and tell their parents, if this is what happened, this is what I do. And that's gonna take some time, education on everyone's part, but at this point in our society, that's a must. We have to have that. So that's what's going on right now in the school district, amongst other things.
For the county, we had a big week last week. Obviously, elections are over with, sort of. And I don't think you can ever say a single vote didn't count. With some of the different races that we had, including assembly races that at one point were separated by 3 votes. Council races that were separated by just a few votes. For us at the county, though, we had 2 supervisors, our county supervisors retiring, including, as you know, Supervisor Ashley, that represents this region. Last count, it looked like candidate Bogue was up by a few hundred votes, so I don't know that that race has been called at this point. So it's probably going to be a few more days, and then we'll have, I think, a final decision there. But I think we can guarantee that the winner will be from the Pass area, so we know that much, right? I'll guarantee you that. And in the 2nd district, which was Supervisor Tabaloni retiring, I don't know if that race has been called either, but the candidate from Corona, Karen Spiegel, was up by a couple thousand votes, I think, last count. So that seems a little more of a solid lead at this point. So that's something that is going to take effect in the new year. And then, the county recently approved a cannabis ordinance that goes into effect at the end of December. So we're all kind of learning about that. And then in the new year, and there's different tiers, and I'm not 100% familiar with all of them, for cultivation and retail sales and all that. So it's kind of a brave new world for us, and we're learning as we go. And I know we're going to get bombarded by applications, and there's going to be a limit on how many you can do certain things, and so we're getting prepared for that as the new year approaches. And so, it is the law of the land, and so we're just trying to figure out how to implement it the most reasonable way possible. And we're excited to partner with the city and the chamber on our access to capital event. We want to do more of those types of things. So we appreciate Kyle and the city stepping up to partner with us. That's just good old-fashioned core economic development work. So thanks.
And the cannabis is the unincorporated county.
Unincorporated areas, we do not control what happens within city jurisdictions. So this is just for unincorporated areas.
Close to us.
But, well, it might benefit us to look at where county touches the city to see if there are potential impacts for cannabis sales or cultivation, because I think that definitely has a potential to impact a city unintentionally. So maybe that's something this group can look at. Just a thought.
So the pressure's on.
Oh, pressure.
No, I don't have much. I just want to mention the council approved the CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant money, one of our previous meetings, and we have funding that we extended for the Boys and Girls Club for some of their extension programs, and we also supplied funding through that program to redo some of Rangel Park as a phase 2 to put in lighting on that park, so we can help enhance that part of the community. So Ashley mentioned it last time she was here about the grants, and if anybody had ideas, you know, to try to jump on that. And we didn't have a lot of applications, but in the future it might be something to think about and get more information about what the criteria is. So you might be able to spread the word, and we have some more. Not that I want to take anything away from these, but it's nice to have a nice variety. So just for future thought. And that's all. Not much.
Okay, yeah, well, you handled that pressure great. So with that being said, anything else for the good of the group? So we're going to go ahead and adjourn the Economic Development Committee, November 14, 2018 at 5:12